Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of the Detail Elements podcast. I'm your host, Levi Gates, and with me, my partner in crime, Mr. Brian Guy. Brian, welcome,
Thank you,
brother.
Levi.
Sebastian was unable to be with us for the second episode, but he said he's definitely coming back for the third. So we'll have him there. But today, Brian's on the podcast, which is awesome.
I'm on the podcast today.
Second, we're going to talk about microfiber. We were the three of us were talking last night, and questions were, what are we going to talk about? What do we want to talk about? First things first. Obviously, the biggest elephant in the room, Brian, is our honest price movement.
That's right.
Which is kind of fun and different for this industry because, as you guys maybe heard on our last episode, there's a lot of companies out there that are charging an excessive amount of money. And Brian and I have both been detailers for over 30 years. And I don't ever remember products being this expensive. Like, I remember being like, even if you got something from a guy on a truck or you walked into the auto parts store to pick something up way back in the day, because that was really the only way you get products, it wasn't crazy expensive. And yes, there were companies like SwissVax that you could get a higher end product. Yes, there were some products that were designed to be a little more expensive, but they kind of justified the means for a lot of those. But I don't know, man. It feels like everybody nowadays is just adding costs because, yes, everything is going up. We know that. But there's some things that I just don't feel like they need to always be that price, especially if they don't have to be.
Yeah. There's a lot of overhead in everybody's business now, so like you mentioned, it's not like it was. We also didn't have as much stuff so many years back, and now with the excessive amount of things, it also leaves a great confusion on what do I need, so where does this solution, where does it make it easy for the average professional user to find a solution?
Yeah. Well, and I look at beginners, right? Like, there's been more detailers, I feel, but I'm pretty sure this is probably normal and has been the last 30 years, is that there's new people finding detailing every day. But I feel like ever since the advent of YouTube, there's more people getting into this industry. There's more DIYers that are transitioning from maybe doing their home, their family's cars every weekend, to friends and families, to friends, families, neighbors, to, hey, I found you on Facebook and I want you to do my car. And it goes from a weekend, gig to a full-time gig, right? Or there's still guys that are doing their 9 to 5 plus doing this as an actual business, working evenings and weekends. And so I feel like there's just more people getting into this industry. And I look at that and I go, could there be a brand that is the entry-level brand, not entry like per se and like low quality, but entry-level pricing, so that it doesn't break their bank? Because a lot of these guys don't have a lot of money to be able to put into a lot of these instances, especially if you think you're buying pressure washer, steamer, maybe you're buying a carpet extractor, maybe you're buying machines, and then chemicals, right? Then accessories, towels, brushes, all that stuff, pads. Prices start to go up, and all of a sudden guys are putting more money into their detail supplies than they are at home, right?
Like, absolutely, especially with the products that you have to continuously purchase, and I remember over a decade ago, it was probably about over a decade ago when things started getting really interesting and cool, with product development, tool development, and things like this, and stuff that was coming into a detailer's hand that was allowing the jobs to become more efficient, allowing them to, you know what I mean? So like this over a decade ago, this industry was picking up. Over a decade ago, nobody really had shops either, unless you were a car wash.
Yeah.
So like a car wash was a shop. Otherwise, if you were a detailer, there was a high chance that you were most likely mobile or working in a dealership or something like this.
Body shop, corner, or
yeah. But most of the time, it wasn't until over a decade ago detailers started taking their business indoors, started, opening up shops. And then this also gave a different type of overhead issue. And then we got that overhead on top of the products, on top of the continuous supply of materials like microfibers, so yeah,
Yeah,
this is
that was a big one for me. Like, you and I are different. You started mobile, I started in a shop.
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
that was just the thing. But for us in a shop setting, we had to get dealer work. We had
yeah,
to get bank work. We had to get stuff that we could just continuously have as busy work just to make sure we had enough money coming in to pay the bills,
yeah,
and retail customers, they were very few and far between, and the majority of the one of the main shop I worked in for like 10 years, that's all we did was dealer work. And we had probably 15 different accounts, and we were putting out about 150 to 175 cars a month. And it was a grind, and it was a lot of fast moving stuff. And I look back at all the stuff we bought, and I did my best to try and keep our costs super low as best we could. But microfibers were one of those that it was a really hard um,
continuous.
continue. We had to use them, and I hated it when guys would um,
Destroy them
just
quickly.
yeah, we'd have steel wool laying around the shop. They'd
Uh-huh.
be dropping them on the ground. They'd pick them back up, like they'd throw them in the wash. Or here's the other thing: none of us knew how to wash microfiber back then.
That's correct also.
Like, nobody knew, and so you'd wash and you'd use a towel once, and then you'd wash it, and it'd come back, and you go to wipe a car down with wax or dry it off or whatever, it didn't work, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. You could
Yeah.
totally feel the plastic at this point.
And you just toss them, man, you just
Yeah,
toss these towels, and all of a
yeah,
sudden, that became an expense. And so, I look at, like, all those old days of the expenses that we had in a business, and I look at, like, what you and I are trying to do now with Liquid Elements for North America, and it's what I like is that we have adjusted pricing to get guys in the door, super simple, super easy, um, making it cheap and easy for guys to be able to outfit an entire shop at a really good rate, um, and then be able to continue that consumption, right? And then
yeah,
on top
yeah,
of that, now we have education, we have training, like tons of videos on how to wash microfibers now that nobody
yeah.
knew. Because if you know how to keep your products clean, or you know how to use products the right way, then they last a much longer. I remember buying buffing pads, dude, on our
Yeah,
rotaries.
yeah,
Like, we'd buy one or two pads, and then we'd beat the ever living snot out of these pads for months doing hundreds of cars, and then we would get new pads, right? And we'd always
absolutely.
be like, "Oh, these pads are really beat up," but
Oh,
like, nobody ever said anything. And now I look back and I go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe how many cars we messed up for so many years." And once you learn and you get education, you get training, and you learn, oh no, buy 4, 5, 6 pads at a time, and you transition them throughout the polishing process on the car, you're actually gonna get those pads to last a lot longer than
yeah,
back in the
yeah,
day, just
yeah.
destroying pads and having failures and failures and failures on these pads and paint jobs, and not knowing why, right? You never
Well,
knew why.
yeah. Well, we used to also have the polishers like the gem orbital or the porta
Mhm.
cable, and before even the pad technology got to where it's at today, we used to have stacks of terry towels to wrap around our,
Yep, yep, to
we
take the
would have
wax off or whatever,
yeah,
and
you would have a stack of terry towels that was also included into your washing cycle,
yeah,
and
you'd
you
be
just
washing
throwing it all
terries
in.
and microfibers.
You throw it all in there. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter,
cotton and microfiber
Yeah.
together, and
Little microfiber, some wheel junk on one towel, and some polish and banana wax on
banana.
another, and throw it all
Yeah.
in there, and, you
Well,
know
and I remember taking, like, so the first time when I moved into my new shop, I bought cotton terry towels, and I bought
microfibers.
Costco towels, like
Yeah, yeah,
Costco
Costco towels.
microfibers. I get
Yep.
the white terries and the Costco microfibers, and that was what we did. And we'd use the white terries to clean interiors, and we'd use them also to remove wax. And then we use the microfibers as what we called a smudge rag to do our final wipe downs of the cars, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
do our And we used Huck towels, the surgical Huck towels for
Oh, yeah.
windows. Like that was just how our towel tech was. And then when I went to the rag company and started learning about microfiber and learning the technologies of microfiber and then developing some of the technologies in microfiber, that's when it all changed and was like, whoa, we're getting more efficient cleaning, we're getting better uses, you're getting longer lasting. Because that was an issue for me. Once you learned how to care for microfiber, it became a tool. And I remember trying to explain to detailers from that point of I use Huck, I use cotton terry, and I use a 320 GSM terry weave microfiber. That's it. Those are the only three towels I use. And you come in with a handful of microfiber, and you're going, actually, these 5 microfiber towels are really all you need to work on your car or detail a car with. And these 5 types, right? Not these
Yeah, yeah.
5
The
perfect
5
towels, but
types of
5
towels.
types of towels are what you need. And people would go, um, why would I spend that money? Why would I buy that? Why would I do that? And once they started to take that plunge, they learned how much more efficient, how much quicker, how much easier it was. All of a sudden, they're cleaning interiors with 320 GSM all-purpose terry, right? That was their smudge rag, their final wipe down towel, is now their dirty jobs interior towel that is actively helping them absorb more liquid on the surface. So if they're cleaning a door panel, there's a lot of liquid on it. They're able to get it much more effectively. Technically, cotton only absorbs 5 times its weight in water. Microfiber can absorb 7 to 15 times its weight in water, depending on the weave and the blend of microfiber. So massive change in efficiencies for wiping down surfaces.
Right,
Instead of
drying towels.
soaking a towel in one door panel, you can now go half the car,
Yep,
if
yep.
not the whole car, with one towel on the interior cleaning it and having effective cleaning because microfiber is a bunch of little fingers. And so it's actually cleaning and scouring at the same time, where cotton is just a bunch of fists. And so it's not as effective in its cleaning. And so once people saw that, I started noticing that detailers now don't even bat an eye. You know, if you and I came back and said, hey, from now on, cotton Huck surgical towels for glass, white terry towels, and these 320 GSM towels are the only way you need to detail cars, people would look at us like we were crazy.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It was a one towel fits all scenario back in the day. As long as it was fresh right out of the package, Costco a
Yep.
long time
Yeah, you
ago,
rip the tag off, shake it
this
out.
yeah, this was the premium towel of the day, you
Yeah.
know? You can wipe a car down after waxing it or polishing it, and that was it,
Yeah.
it was the one towel, and after a couple cycles of this, a few rounds of the washing machine, it goes into an interior or a tire or a tailpipe and then it's smoked, you
Yeah.
know?
That's done.
It's
Well, and
done.
that's why, like, it's fun now to see this progression
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what we used to use to what is currently now available. And
Oh,
truth
yeah.
be told, like when I was at the rag company, we had over 130 different types of microfiber towels, a massive amount. And that was our hardest issue, was trying to explain to customers,
The differences.
yeah, why you needed those.
Yeah, yeah.
And one thing that I love about Liquid Elements is, again, going back to that efficiency by design, was that basically Sebastian and the team said, these are the towels we use the most, right? We've got a drying towel with the black hole. We've got a polishing cloth or coating removal leveling cloth with the polishing towels, which are pearl weave, which is one of my favorite weaves, and
Yeah,
it's
favorite.
versatile because it does so much. You can even use it on glass if you need.
Mhm.
The eraser and value packs, which are a perfect 400 to 350 GSM towel that actually does everything you need it to do. So
Like
all
we
those
were just saying.
interior jobs,
Yeah.
yeah, that's your all-purpose terry, right?
Mhm.
And then the streak buster, which is a small, like small square waffle weave towel, which is one of my favorite glass towels. It's super efficient, super easy, and it's very effective also because it's got a microfiber edge. So your leading and trailing edge are actually cleaning and absorbing
Mhm.
glass. So having those in the lineup is all you need at the moment.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah,
still like to add an Ultra Plush, which we have over in Europe. I'd like to bring the Ultra Plush over, just be able to have something softer and safer because um, with the range of GSMs we have, they're all super safe. But I remember going back, the first time I figured out and learned about microfiber, I was wiping some super soft Acura paint, and it was the black purpley pearl on an Acura
yeah, yeah,
TL or blue. It was a really cool Honda color. And I remember wiping it, and I polished a section and then I wiped it, and I had a yellow Kirkland signature towel, and I wiped it and I saw micro marring go across in the same direction. And I said, "What?" And then I wiped it like at an angle and it left lines. And I was like, got a new towel, tore the tag, shook it off, wiped again. And I was like, the heck, I'm scratching this paint. I'm actually scratching it after I polish it. Like, what the heck is happening? And then that got me started on there's got to be a better microfiber towel. I got a microfiber towel from our Worth distributor. I got one of those. I used it, and I had like a fresh pack there. So I grabbed one of those, wiped, scratched. And I was like, what the heck is happening? Like, this one feels a little different. It was a little thicker GSM than the Costco towel. And that was when I had that car in the group in the shop that night. That night I looked at tons of websites, and I learned about the rag company. I learned about Microfiber Madness. I learned about Auto Fiber. Back then it was Microfiber. What was Corey's old company? It's Microfiber Wholesale or something, or
Madness, Microfiber Madness.
no, that was Microfiber Madness. But I'm not Corey. Ian.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
before Auto Fiber came, Microfiber Tech. That's what it was called. So those were the three companies at the time that were available. And so I was looking at those, and I was like, where do I find a good towel? And it just so happened the rag company was local to me. So I bought a bunch of different types of microfiber. And that's when I learned the differences between GSM. That's when I learned the differences between blends. That's when I learned the differences between weaves. And that started it. And I remember going back and thinking, all right, I'm causing scratching. I need to go up in GSM because I need to go up in weight. Then I thought, or do I need to create less pressure and go with a thicker towel?
Yeah.
And went with something that was a higher pile and wiped. And all of a sudden, not only did the wax come off easier, the compound or polish come off easier, but it like didn't scratch. And I was like, holy crap, this changed everything for me. But that was me. And that was when I learned microfiber makes a difference in your detailing. And that was the moment that I was like, oh, this is cool. And it unlocked like a whole world of
Absolutely.
changes to where I detailed or how I detailed. What about
Absolutely.
you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I like, when I started detailing, I was still using a chamois, you know? Chamois
Me
were super
too. Mhm.
popular. So when the dry-in towels started to hit the marketplace, I was so hesitant about using a dry-in towel of this size because it's so large, and the way that I kinda saw it is that I'm increasing my risk of scratching the paint,
Yeah.
you know? So, like, I was kind of hesitant about it because after years of using a chamois, you kinda figure out how to manipulate it and use it and
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
this, like anything else, and then you start diving into these other dry-in towels when they started coming, and they were awesome, but then again, it really boiled down to how well you were taking care of that towel, like,
Yeah.
you have to take good care of it, you know? And I think that one of the first towels that really caught my attention that was a game changer for me was these pearl weaves. When like a pearl weave came and I was able to remove a polishing residue off of the surface, of the car without leaving so much product behind, you do
Yeah.
a wipe and you're seeing that it's actually picking it up and it's pulling it off, and I felt like, I think in my head at the time, I was really considering them to be like the sterilizer towel.
Yeah.
It felt like a medical addition, and like I was like, "Cool, I'm a car doctor," you know?
Yeah.
And like, so like this towel really, really caught my attention, when we started having this pearl weave thing come, and that was the one that kind of got me started into really understanding a towel's purpose. After that, and around the same time, of course, the coatings were coming into the marketplace, and you could not just use just any towel to remove a coating. You
Yeah.
know, towels were incredibly heavy, heavy part of how to remove a coating. And so this was a learning curve, of course, too.
Yeah.
And in this time, of course, price and structure, because of all the everything with the price and structure was starting to increase. You know, we started seeing higher, but I in my business, I was like, I'm gonna pay the extra money for these towels because I know that this towel is gonna give me the type of result that I'm looking for when I wipe, when with minimal amounts of risk. You
Yeah.
know, so like coatings were definitely really big game changer on the correct towel for me. And then after that, I think it was I kind of also really like cotton towels, for leather interior reasons. I like the cottons and this type of pile of a
Hmm.
towel, um, for interiors, where I started recognizing that microfibers did have an abrasive factor to them, you know. So depending on the level of delicateness, like this Acura paint, for example, I think that the last car I did with like super super finicky paint was a NSX. I did an NSX that was just absolutely terrible to polish, terrible to wipe. If you looked at it wrong, it scratched, and but without the right things in place, you wouldn't have been able to actually get that job done
Yeah.
nicely, you know. And then the idea of being able to get down to the anti-friction part where you can touch this car without it scratching, you know, it really depended on the towels, you
It's
know.
amazing. It is really amazing to see when someone doesn't see that, or you
Yeah,
try to explain it
yeah,
and they don't understand that.
yeah,
But it is that moment where you go, "Oh my gosh, we're hitting a spot where everything works just fine." And you can
yeah,
almost, I joke that I could almost see like microscopically, like
yeah,
the
yeah.
particulates getting picked up and pulled in. And it was just like you could watch that
Oh
surface.
yeah. Oh yeah. This is the problem with all of that too. You know, like I saw dust go under there. It goes
Yeah.
into this pile now. I'm sorry, new towel, you know.
Mhm.
Oh, but I think that if we rewind a little bit and we go back to the basics, just detailing,
Yeah.
you're gonna clean a car, you know. There is a particular set of towels, as you mentioned, that are needed, you know, and those towels are gonna be your most obvious. They're gonna be the ones that you're always gonna buy the most. They're always gonna be always the ones that you're reaching for 9 times out of 10, and these are mostly all of the all-purpose towels,
Yeah.
How many times has anybody as a detailer, you're walking by, you're busy with something, you're fixing something on a car, and you notice something, say it's on like a piece of rubber trim or something, a small piece of rubber trim. And next to you is your nice pearl weave and your plush towel or something like this. You don't want to pick that towel up. Sometimes you do,
Yeah. Sometimes you do because you like the way it feels, and
and with a single clean-in, you've just destroyed the overall look of that
yeah,
towel.
or it's gotten caught because there's a piece of rubber
Yeah,
trim, but then there's this
yeah,
textured plastic, and you hit it with the wrong
yep.
towel, and it grabs all the
So you picked
the
up
fiber and pulls it out,
you
right?
picked up a better towel, a better quality towel designed for a specific use, and you used it for the wrong use, and now it'll stay in that wrong use pile most likely as time
Yeah,
goes on for it. Once you get that rubber trim on it, or once you get that streak on it, you're not going to bring it back to the paint again,
yeah,
most of the time. So once you in because the towels will stain a little bit, of course, and not everything will fully come out of a wash, but and on the perception side, when you're folding them, you're like, okay, this towel just made it to the B grade, you know? It's not the A grade anymore. So, yeah, I think that this is the most common towel is always needed, is the ones that we need to be reaching for the most, and is, part of, this honest price movement with the liquid elements is to be able to offer these particular towels at the affordable price, you know? And
Yeah.
that's kind of where we wanna fit into providing the solutions, so that hopefully you don't reach for that premium towel for,
Well,
undesigned
there's a
purpose.
it's the right tool for the job,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's pretty much everything that we do here is provide those, solutions to the problem, right?
right,
And that's when we're not gonna give you something that, the hard part for me was I had, back when I was at the rag company, I had 6 towels for glass, 6 different types of glass towels, and people would ask me, "Which one's the best?" Well, my favorite would probably not be your favorite, and that was hard to explain to people, like, you're gonna have to buy all 6 and try them out
yeah,
and see what you think. I'll tell you this towel is the best, and they go, "Yeah, I hated that towel." Okay, and they'll go, "My favorite was this type of towel," which was probably the one I hated, right? And so that's what I love about what we have now is the towels that we're using. Pearl weaves are one of the most versatile towels on the planet.
be right back,
Uh,
Levi.
oh, you're good, Brian. So I'll keep talking. Brian has to go because UPS is at the door and he's got to run and help get the order shipped out. So, what I was going to talk about is pearl weaves are one of the most versatile weaves on the planet. When I was at the rag company, we didn't make pearl weaves when I got there because they made them previous for about 10 years prior to me arriving. That was a very delicate towel that they used for um, granite countertops, jan sand cleaning, a lot of surface like high-end rock and granite and polished surfaces for jan sand cleaning. It then was used early on as a wax removal towel for furniture wax and car wax and other surfaces, but it was never marketed as like a proper car towel, right? It wasn't until the advent of and the presence and push of coatings, ceramic coatings on vehicles that a lot of the manufacturers started putting pearl weaves. So I was just saying that the growth and push of pearl weaves is one of those things. They didn't have them when I was at Rag Company because after about 10 years of selling them, they had low sales and they didn't utilize them. And then it wasn't until we got into ceramic coatings and there was so many ceramic coatings and the push of marketing for all of that that many of the manufacturers started requesting that you utilize a pearl weave towel to level or
Yeah, yeah,
remove the coating. And when I saw that, I was like, "Oh, what's a pearl weave?" And our factory sent us a sample of a pearl, and I was like, "Oh, this is a really cool towel." And Jeff had told me, "Well, we used to sell that, and we used it for granite and for furniture polish and car polish, but it wasn't a big seller. But that was because it came at the wrong time, right?"
yeah,
Once coatings really pushed and stated, you need this type of towel to be either your primary leveling wipe or use it for the whole surface, right? Some were like super low nap and then high nap towel. So your first wipe, initial wipe is this to make sure it's even and spread properly. And it absorbs a portion of the coating. And then the second wipe comes over and picks up the rest of it, but without any pressure or damage, right? But once we did that, pearl weaves just exploded and people started finding lots of uses. One of my favorite uses is for glass. It's one of my favorite glass
yeah,
towels.
yeah, yeah,
I pair that with a streak buster. So I'll do my initial wipe with a wet streak buster because it absorbs a lot of the liquid. And then I use the pearl for the bite and it's tight knit because it's such a tight weave. it's almost lint free.
Yeah.
Which is one of the coolest things about it, to be a microfiber towel that can be as close to lint free as possible. It's also something we used to use for vinyl wrapping and PPF. There's tons of installers all over the country and world that use pearl weaves for final wipe downs on, after they've wrapped a car, right? Because sometimes PPF guys, you get that little edge and they need to wipe they hit it with a quick detail spray, wipe everything down. Um, they need that lint not to grab on that fresh cut edge. And if they have a high pile towel, it will definitely grab that lint and pull it out. And then they have little pieces of fiber in a fresh piece of work, basically. And so pearl weaves fit that bill, which is really cool. So that was all. I was just giving you a history lesson on pearl
Yeah,
weave for the listener.
absolutely, Levi. Like this was a very niche time, you
Yeah.
know, like, and around this niche time, you know, when these things were common, I'm thinking about something that was said earlier too. The We had a lot of people in the industry at this time because let's just go back to where shops were super, you know, these high volume professional
Yeah.
detail shops like we see all over the place today. This wasn't a thing, you know. So
Yeah.
when certain things like this, even a towel, came into the marketplace, there was a lot of I recall having a lot of messages with friends and things like this where they would buy a product because of the online, you know, the online newness of it and the excitement of it and everything like this. Um, and not just towels, but tools, certain polishers, like certain things, you know, as all of this development was taking place, you know, 10 plus years ago, like there was a lot of people that were losing a lot of their overhead value. I recall having messages with friends saying, "Oh yeah, I bought and paid for this. I bought and paid for this." And 3 months later, their wife left them, or, you know, like, their business completely tanked because the investment was going
They're
into
spending too much
spending
on
too
stuff.
much on stuff that was, you know, primarily social media's, you know, fault at this point, you know, and they're being excited and saying, "Hey, I wanna be a part of this movement and everything," but there was not a whole lot of companies at that time that could actually achieve the results of being able to keep those tools in-house, you
Yeah.
know, and keep those products in-house and being able to use them. So, you know, I recall speaking to some mobile detailers where they're like, they bought a coat in and they had it in their van for a year just waiting for that right customer, but they still paid, you know what I mean? I was like, "Why did you buy
A lot
it?"
of
Like,
upfront
you know.
costs on that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why did you buy that? You don't need it. You don't use it, you know? That's not what your services are offering. That's not, you know. So, like, there was also this was also a time when everybody was creating this too, you know? Like, there was a lot of creativity into the marketplace where the value was rising and things like this. So the cost of a detail was going up and up and up and up. Um, Fast forward to today is, you know, I don't know what the standard detail costs today, but I'm sure it's far more than what it was when you and I started.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, and I look back, I'm fortunate enough that my dad detailed, and my mom, when I was young, and so, like, I always had that to talk to my dad and figure out, like, especially when I had my shop, was, costs of things and, like, figuring out stuff. And I remember my dad, was letting me know, he goes, "Gosh, when in 1981, when we were detailing cars," he goes, "we were charging $35 a car to
Yeah,
detail it." And
yeah,
he goes, "We would vacuum the carpets." He goes, "We would spritz some light water on them just to get the dust and stuff." And he's like, he goes, "Your mom and I'd vacuum the cars out. I'd use compressed air, blow everything out." He goes, "We'd wipe down the dash and seats and clean all the plastics, leather, and vinyl, and just wipe them all down and get them all protected. Do the windows, dress the tires." That included washing and doing the wheels and stuff. And then he'd just do a hand wax on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And he goes, "It'd take your mom and I, the two of us, we could probably get a car done in about 2 hours, and we charge 35 bucks." And we thought, "Holy cow, this is
yeah, yeah,
this is money." And he
yeah,
goes, "And on a weekend, we'd book 3 or 4 cars on a weekend, and that was what we did."
yep, yep,
And And he goes, we'd get those cars done. And he's like, we'd make 150, $200 for that weekend. And we were like, man, couldn't believe we were rolling in it. He goes, but minimum wage was $3 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
275. He's like, that's just in Idaho, that's what it was. And he goes, that was an easy way for us to make a little cash every weekend if we could get the cars. And I remember the first time I charged $1,000 on a detail. And I called him and said, hey, I did my first coating, $1,000. He was like, he just couldn't fathom it.
Yeah.
That we had gotten to that point, or that
That's where it's
had
at
gotten
now.
to that point, and he was like, how much did the product cost? And I was like, $80 for the coating. And it took us 2 hours to install it at the time. But that was, back in the day. And that's when I started learning, like, how do I install a coating faster? How do I get a coating finished faster? How do I do, and it was, from that point on, it was like, how do I do this a lot quicker? And I remember Matt Ward and I getting to the point where we could get a coating installed start to finish in under 20 minutes. And that felt pretty good. And then our prep work usually depended on whatever we had to do. If it was just a wash, clay, and coat, we were pretty dang fast. We could have that car done in under 2 hours. If we had to do a one-step polish on it, then we had another 30 minutes to that. And it was all about speed, how fast we could get the cars in and out, which is now why I pay for, all my arthritis and joints, and went too fast and burned everything up.
It's completely about the how quickly you could do it, like I remember setting a stopwatch on myself before I ever decided to start a mobile detailing business. I set a stopwatch and I was like, okay, it took me that long to complete wash dry. It took me that long to complete wash dry windows, tires, door jambs. It took me that long to complete wash windows, tires, door jambs, vacuum, windows.
Yep.
And like, and then I had to decide, like, what is the prices for each one of these things. And at this time, it's like, I feel like it's the same as your father, $35, and you would hustle, to like get this done. And nobody would start a detailing business in today's world with the prices.
No.
You had to have passion for it. You had to really enjoy it. This was the two most prominent things you had to have in order to even consider a detailing business.
Well, and I look back to, like, graduating high school and going to work in a car wash, and then just being in the detailing world, right? And going to I remember my 10-year high school reunion and going there. And I've got friends that are like, oh, just finished med school. I'm a lawyer. I'm this, I'm that. And what do you do? And I'm like, I'm just washing cars. Like, and I hadn't started my shop yet, but I was managing a shop, and I was like, yeah, I'm detailing cars. And I remember always thinking of that as, like, I felt a little embarrassed by it.
Same.
Because the people I worked with were dudes that were missing teeth. Had 5, 6 baby mamas and paying child support and all. Just, it was a different, like, vibe, right? Of I remember when I started my shop, one of the things I enacted was, I told my guys, we're all wearing black shirts or charcoal gray. We're not wearing white or light gray shirts because they were always filthy, right? And so I was like, I'm wearing dark colored shirts, dark pants, and then I had like Axe body sprays and soap in the bathroom at all times, and a lot of towels. And I told my guys, if you're going to deliver cars, I want faces washed, I want hands washed, and I want you to spray yourself with deodorant before you get in that car and take it. Because I remember working with guys that would smoke, and I was a smoker.
Smoke,
sweat, and just dirty hands, dirty face, dirty clothes, walking into dealerships and picking up the next car. And you're walking in, and they're trying to do a sale. All the salesmen are always dressed up, and you come walking in looking like a schlub stinking of cigarettes going like, "Hey, I'm here to pick up the next car. I just
Yeah,
finished your car out there." And I thought,
yeah,
this looks weird. We're delivering clean cars and we look super filthy. We should try our best to look as clean as possible so that we bring the level of professionalism up. So anyway, it was just a that
yeah,
was a
yeah.
funny thing and that I thought of, and I remember going like, this is the way to do it. And now I look at like all the guys on Instagram and YouTube, some of these detail shops and some of these mobile detailers, and their polo shirts looking sharp, hats,
Matching shoes.
branding,
Yeah,
yeah, everything matching, and it's gone are the days of wearing torn up clothes and because you're just getting them dirty and
yep,
showing up
yep.
to get a car done. But that's what I love is it's this whole industry evolution from these crappy, even just something as simple as towels. Like, here's the 4 towels we used to use. Here's the new towels that we use on an everyday basis. It's the same way of like how the industry is seen almost from a lower level job to now there are guys that are easily clearing $1 million a year in sales with their detail shops, with the advent of bringing on coatings, PPF, vinyl tint, and the merging of all these businesses and
In-house product
everything
sales.
now.
Yeah,
I look at it and I go, wow, I can't believe. And it's funny. I'm thinking about, we're going to be going to our 30th high school reunion pretty soon, which is absolutely insane, Brian. But is looking at that and going like, if someone asks now, or what
yeah,
I find is I get guys that I went to high school with that are reaching out to me going, I want to start my own home detailing business, or I want to pick up a machine because I want to start polishing some stuff. What do you recommend? And it's different,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
We've got our friend, Dr. Owen Samuels, detail doctor, who's a neurologist
Mr. Owen.
and neurosurgeon and educator. And he details because he likes doing it, because it relaxes him, because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
something different than
yeah,
brain surgery
yeah, yeah, yeah,
for him.
yeah. It's
And he loves it. And he started a
relaxing.
little, yeah, but he started a little business to work out of his garage on his off days to detail cars for friends, family, neighbors. He's created a business because he loves that aspect of it. And if you told you and me when we were, starting out, hey, you're going to be
Yeah.
doing the same jobs that everybody else wants to do now or is finding a way to get into, I wouldn't have believed you.
No, no, no. Also, too, I wouldn't have believed me years ago when I first started that details could cost what they cost nowadays. Like this was an incredible time. And I want to say it was probably started around about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
No, about 15 years ago, stuff started really getting wild in this industry, you know, new products, new tools. With that being said, there's obviously a lot of different types of branding and different types of um, professional support behind it and things like this, and things just start taking off.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that if I was to go back and redo it again, like, one thing that I probably would have changed is I would have found the products and the solutions that fit me the best, and with what I was doing, and I would have just stuck with what is working for me.
Yeah.
And it would make sense also, like, knowing now what I know, because it's also, through some trial and error, you end up spending money on things that you find unnecessary,
Yeah.
you know? So I would have definitely changed that as well. I would go back and, if I could repeat and do it all over again, I would have found what is working, what is most affordable, and what is allowing my business to actually have the best amount of success.
Yeah.
Um, like, I'm not super proud about what I'm about to say because 10 years ago, my detail, I had around about 250 to $300 of cost was into every single car I did, you
It's a
know?
lot.
And it was a lot, and it was always the same things. It was brand new pads, brand new towels, whatever selective coating, you know, like, so those three things, you know, and you're getting it from here, you're getting it from there, you're getting it from here, you know. If I would have just really narrowed down my ideology with it all, and, you know, got the one source that's able to give me everything I need for all the solutions that I need, I would have done that differently, you know,
Yeah.
instead of entertaining what was new. I think in today's market, when something new comes about, it's not really shocking or surprising. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, new foam cannon, you know, like, ah, new tool, but similar to this one, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
I find it takes for me, same. It's the need and want of something different,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's the look of going like, "Oh, I've never seen that before." You
yeah,
know, when I first met Sebastian at Automechanica last year, or 2 years ago, I brought it up to him. I said, "Well, so what makes you different?" When I looked at his booth, and he explained everything they do with efficiency, with vibration, with ergonomics, with what is wrong with the current model and how do we make it better.
yeah,
And he started explaining that, well, we focus on all of these points. How do we make it more efficient? How do we, you know, most companies just make towels, right? Well, how do we make the best towels at the best price for the best cost, right? At Rag Company, we did different weaves. We always did 70/30. It set us apart because we were 70/30. We did a number of different, you know, of the different sizes and weaves and stuff. And that was all really great. But when you increase blend, that brings up an extended price. When you get high end yarn, AA grade yarn, that gets you a higher price. There are all these costs involved. And I take it from like what Costco did. Costco built a microfiber towel that was only had these rules: had to be 16 by 16, had to be 320 GSM, had to be an 80/20 blend, and it had to hit a retail price of 38 cents. And that was the standard it set for 20 years,
yeah,
right? If you remember 20 years ago, those towels were the best of the best. You go in there now, that towel is 58 cents. It is totally different.
yeah,
Construction is different, softness is different. GSM is still 320, but they had to do things. They had to change some construction stuff. They had to change the yarn quality. They had to bring it down from a high grade yarn to a low grade yarn. Um, the towel doesn't last as long. So they stuck to a certain formula for a number of years, which worked well. But then when costs started to rise, they had to make sacrifices,
hmm,
right? Rag Company has never compromised. However, prices have had to increase. Here at Liquid Elements, the things that we're doing different is all of our towels are 80/20 blend, but all of them are AA grade Korean yarn. So we're putting the highest grade yarn on a very good blend. 80/20 is a standard, right? So we're not making a lot of towels 70/30, but then we're prioritizing some of the best weaves in the industry, right? With a high GSM with all of our stuff. So we're trying to take the benefits of some of the premium level stuff and some of the cost saving measures of some of the more efficient towels and meet this kind of middle ground within our microfiber range, which is one of the things that I always like. I actually love about our towels because it ticks every single box for a customer.
yeah,
It does everything you need it to do. It's going to be a
yeah,
high quality towel that you can wash 1,000 times if you want, because of the yarn construction. It's got good cuts, good edges on the towels. We're not using crappy sewing techniques. We're not using bad cuts or anything like that because we manufacture all of our own stuff. And then our colors are vibrant. There's no bleed. There's no issues with all this stuff. So you have the bright, vibrant colors that people love, but then the best weaves that can get a job done exactly the way you want it to. And we're not breaking the bank on our pricing.
yeah,
So guys can still get the towels they need at an affordable rate that they can then utilize in their shop when they're going. And then the same thing with our entire brand. Like you say, sticking to that one brand. I look back at all the years of detailing, and I tried to stay in a brand all the way through. But when I first opened my own shop, I just copied what my boss had used for years, my old boss. And when I got to my looking at my rates, and I said this in the last podcast, I was at two grand a month for chemicals
Yeah.
on my shop. And when I finally learned about a one brand system that would work within my shop at the time, it dropped from $2,000 to $800 a month because the system worked across the board and I didn't have issues where I had to substitute something else one week because they were out of it, or they stopped carrying that product because I was buying it from a different person or whatever. But once I got into a specific brand and I stuck within that brand, I was able to create SOPs to where I was able to teach my guys much faster. So I was getting new guys taught and trained quicker. I was able to bring in anybody because my SOPs, because of the products we use, all of a sudden I could bring in new guys to help as day labor because it was easy and cheap and effective. And so I was able to fix a lot of the issues that I'd had previously once I simplified everything. And that's one of the things I love about our brand is the fact that everything fits in an entire system and is designed to work all the way through, from whether you're washing the car to deconning the car to compound and polishing the car to coating and protecting the car to then starting the process all over again and maintaining the vehicle. Everything is there and is designed to flow
Yeah.
easy, seamlessly, and inexpensively, which a lot of companies don't have, right? They've got glass cleaners at 20 bucks. They've got soaps at $30. They've got all these different things. And it's like, we have the answer to a lot of those questions. How do I get into this? How do I do it? How do I get started on it? Because I don't have a lot of money. We can be that answer. We can be that person. We can be that brand to help you.
No, it's a double factor solution, you know. It's one solution to have the right tool for the right job, and it's another solution to save cost in your business.
Yeah.
Often the easiest one to forget though is the number two right there.
Yeah. No,
Save
and a lot
cost.
of guys get caught up in the hype. They get caught
Yeah,
up in that internet hype. I was one of those guys. I mean, I
yeah,
did it.
absolutely,
I know you did.
absolutely,
Like it's
yeah,
fun
absolutely.
and that's cool. But I tried to always look at it and go, I'm gonna buy this for myself. And then you try it out on my car, but I'm not gonna enter it into my shop.
Absolutely.
It's not gonna come
Absolutely.
in.
It's you know, you have to and one of the worst things that we've seen over the years online is when bad things are said about brands, you
Mhm.
know, where there's a product out there, it's got a designated design purpose, and it's a great product, but it has a couple poor comments where I don't know. I've always thought that it's not necessarily that, it's just your experience with it, you know?
Mhm.
So, gain experience with it and you can make it work, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe this for the next episode, Levi, because I think that this might be one of the ideas for the next episode, but where to draw the line there, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I look at reviews and I see people that'll say like, "Man, I put this product on my car, failed within a
Yeah,
week."
yeah,
And I remember I remember going to a training event for a coating company to learn how to install the coating properly. And we had done a couple installs already when we got there. But one of the things that I remember seeing was we had a guy who got in there, he was in the class, and he said, I have this problem that the reason I'm here is because every coating I've installed has failed in the last 6 months.
yeah.
And
What's
I was
going on?
like, what
Wow.
do you mean it's failed? And he's like, it's failed on my truck. And I put it on there 8 weeks ago. And in my head, I remember thinking, there's no way
There's
it
no
could
way.
fail that fast. And I had just done like my minivan and I had done
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
Matt had did his car and we'd done all this stuff. And we were sitting there and the trainer said, well, show us how you install it. And so we brought his truck in, we washed it. Sure enough, it had failed on the truck. We deconned, cleaned the whole car. Once we deconned it, it started coming back a little bit, but you could see patches, like where it was and where it wasn't, right? And got the car cleaned, polished it, got it ready to go. So surface was ready to install. He showed us how to prep the surface. All of us did it, got the car prepped. And then he goes, all right, to the guy, you show me how you install it. And the first words out of that guy's mouth, I don't like using your applicator. What I do is I take a towel, I take a blue shop towel from the roll of Scott's shop towels that have a petroleum distillate in it. It says it right on the box, like has petroleum distillate. It's designed to clean the oil off your hands. That's
Yeah.
what that towel's for. But in his mind, that towel is softer than the applicator that was just a foam applicator, right? Or a suede block, right? Or anything like that. He thought that blue Scott's shop towel softer. So he would take that towel, wrap it around the applicator, and then he'd put the coating on that towel, and then he'd wipe it on. So now he's applying the coating and applying petroleum distillate, which could be a thinner, could be an oil eater, could be all these different products, and he's wiping the surface of his coating. So now the coating is fighting that distillate to attach to the surface. And he got a fender down, and all of us were like, dude, that's why it's not working.
That's why it's not working for
Your towels, and the guy that was hosting and showed him, he's like, dude, it says contains this on it. Like that's actively fighting the coating that you're putting in there. So it's already causing the coating to separate and get weird, and you're wiping it on your car. That's why it's not even adhering or bonding. And the guy was like, oh my gosh. And once we cleaned it again, did an actual application, and he showed us, this is how fast you go. This is how much product you put on. Here's how you do it. All of us were like, wow, saving us time, saving us efficiency. We're able to know exactly what we're doing. But that was the thing that caused the most chaos. Was there are people that don't properly know how to install something. And what I see is a number of other people in Reddit, Facebook, Instagram back in the day would say, put this coating on, it's already failed. Well, what was your process? And then they'd say, I'm using this product from this company, this polish, this compound, this pad from this company, this clean prep solve from this company, and then I'm using this coating, and I'm topping it with this topper that's not even from that company. And you're like, there's a lot of failure points in that system. And not even using the prep product for the coating was my biggest rule for anybody, was always use at least the prep product before, and of the same coating company. If you're using a G-Technic coating, use a G-Tech prep. If you're using a Liquid Elements coating, use a Liquid Elements prep. If you're using a Diamond ProTech coating, use a Diamond ProTech prep, because they're chemically designed to work together. Same with CarPro. Use CarPro Reset with CarPro coatings. Like that is like the first run, because if you're going to try and warranty that coating, that's the first thing that a coating manufacturer is going to say is, how is it prepared? How is the surface prepared? And if you give them 20 different answers, it's not going to work. Well, I use this, 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 and this, because now there's too many variables. But if you can say, well, I used a Liquid Elements Decon soap, I used a Liquid Elements compound and polish for the surface, I used the Liquid Elements finish control spray, I used a Liquid Elements coating. Okay, well, now we need to look at the application of the product. Everything you used is proper and exact the way it needs to be, and should have worked together in system. And so that's why I go back and say to these people, like, you got to learn a system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing. It's you have to stay with it long enough than to have a one-time experience and try to, bin it. You need to have enough experience with the one product, even if it's a towel, even if it's a wash mitt, even if it's a glass cleaner, something simple, once you figured the product out, you can basically make any system work for you, so and this is the efficiency behind the business, like that's the efficiency behind running a successful business instead of the business running you. I think that, like, if I could have made some changes, like I said, those would have been changes I would have made. instead of I also too think that, this time, Levi, we had really no choice but to go down the rabbit holes with everybody else because, you know,
I think we got to get it out, got to
oh,
get it out there.
oh, it was all new at that time,
Yeah.
certain things. But, let's fast forward to today, like, and a very interesting, thing that Levi and I share incredibly about the Liquid Elements brand is that how cool the Liquid Elements brand is about creating all of the solutions in-house by under one manufacturer. So, and the microfiber towels are designed, created from a Liquid Elements microfiber manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
it's all our stuff, and that's one of the
yeah,
great things, and again, goes back to that honest price movement. Because we're the manufacturer, we're setting the prices, and our goal
correct.
is to make sure that our prices are reasonable and, a great value for customers with
Yeah,
an extremely high quality product,
yeah,
so that you don't have to, too many times we see cheap products or inexpensive products with a crappy price, a crappy value, right? They just don't work, or they break, or they're all these issues. But one thing that I found with everything we do is it's satisfying. It works really well. It gets the job done exactly the way you want it to get done. And it doesn't break the bank, which
eh,
allows us to put more money back in the detailer's pockets or the consumer's pockets, because we're not charging you, you know, 20 bucks for a bottle of glass cleaner,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like, it shouldn't be that expensive, and once we can start bringing in, 5 liters of product, that price is just going to drop even more for customers. And so our whole goal in this brand is to try and make it affordable, so that detailers at the end of the day can put food on the table, so they can have that little extra money. So I can think back to, like, my parents hustling in the sun, my mom having me and a baby Bjorn while she's waxing a car. They were hustling to make money at the end of the day, just to have a little extra cash to be able to afford some things. And I think back to those days of when it didn't cost that much, and I look at, like, what we're trying to do, and it's the same thing. The detailers today, I want them to be able to pay for dance lessons. I want them to be able to pay for sports for their kids, sports programs for their kids. I want them to be able to buy a car, buy a house, have food on the table, and not feel like they're broke because they're chasing
yeah.
something, right? That's not there.
In today's market at the moment, you just gotta put some gas in your rig and figure
Yeah.
out how to get lunch.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and if we can be a solution to that, then this is one of our goals with the Liquid Elements. We wanna also be the solution that is, helping to deliver a quality product at an affordable price, and it does its job. So,
Yep.
there's solutions all around, and it's just gonna take, a little bit more movement for us into Liquid Elements. So we did just get our container of microfibers not too long ago. So we're fully stocked on microfibers, wash mitts. We have different types of value packs available right now, and these are ideas to not just have a product that you think you need, as much as it is to have a price that you deserve, you
Yeah.
know? So this is kind of what Levi and I's focus, and Sebastian, if he was here too, or the focus is to be able to have that
Mhm.
and to get that stuff going. And we can get the products over here at really, at affordable prices without trying to translate those costs into the market. This is a fantastic thing that we can, continue to try to achieve. So yeah. But, they're really fantastic towels that we have though, Levi.
Yep.
But it's always the all-purpose towel. Always the all-purpose
Yeah.
towel.
Our
You need
eraser or the value
Mhm,
I've been grabbing lately is
mhm.
a great little towel for what
Yep,
it needs to do.
yep.
Just the right amount of weight, just the right amount of flop, in terms of, like, how you hold the towel. It's just a really, really good towel for all-purpose work, even paint work. It's soft enough for that. So, definitely go check out all the fun products at liquid-elements liquid-elements.com so you can see everything. Yeah, stay tuned for next week's episode when we'll get Sebastian back in and Brian and I. And yeah, if you guys have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them in the comments. We've got the podcast now hosting it on Spotify. Should be hitting Apple Podcasts soon, and then it's on YouTube. So it comes out on Mondays. If you're listening to this today, it comes out Monday. New episodes audio drop for the podcast on Mondays, but the video will drop on Wednesday. So feel free to check it out if you want to watch us sit and talk, or listen to it on your drive into work. So, Brian, thank you for joining me, brother.
Of course, brother. So one more mention is that we also just have, as of this morning, we have our registration form completed on the website for business owners. So if you are a business owner, we do have a registration on the B2B contact. You're welcome to fill this out, and maybe the prices go a little bit better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's open to pretty much everyone. We just like to introduce ourselves and meet with you. So fill out the application. You'll get a call from the two of us, and we'll do a little interview and see how we do. And that way you can start spreading the gospel of liquid elements.
Amen,
all right, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.